Welcome to the second video in our series. In this video we're going to look at the safety of the investment. As I mentioned in the opening video, this is a safe, secure, liquid investment. So we're going to address the safety issue in this video. We are investing in student loans. Student loans have a stigma attached to them where people assume that that's inherently risky. And to some degree they're right. An average of our students in month one are slow payers at around about the rate of 28%. That's pretty high. That's not risk-free, that's for sure, that's not safe. However, if you take our overall portfolio of over 50 million at this point and climbing rapidly, as the students pay, and there's a lot more about this in the second video with graphs and things like that that you can look at, you'll see that the default rate after 12 months of payments drops to less than 4%. So the overall portfolio itself defaults at a rate of less than 10%. Okay, so you've improved from 28% to less than 10. Not bad, but still risky. Agreed. I absolutely agree. So what have we done to deal with this issue? Well, we have gone to the schools that we provide student loans to and asked them and received from them a full recourse guarantee. Well, why would a school do that? Well, the first thing to remember is a student cannot discharge this debt through bankruptcy. So they might be a slow payer, but at some point they're going to have to pay it back. Secondly, the schools that we deal with, and we have a highly successful 10-year track record of dealing just with top schools because our underwriting criteria is very fine-tuned to ensure that the schools with which we deal are highly profitable and are able to stand by this guarantee. We go through and vet out most schools and we end up with Title IV schools in the majority. What is a Title IV school? A Title IV school is a school that enjoys the fruits of a government program. The government has created this program to reward schools that provide good education with accredited programs and provides ultimately their students with gainful employment, i.e. the students can go out and get a job. Once you are a Title IV school, you need to maintain a high degree of profitability, audited financials, and to ensure that your programs continue to meet the standards placed on them by the government. At this point, if you're a Title IV school, there's a rule associated with it, and it's called the 90-10 rule. That's 90-10, 10. What does that mean? The 90-10 rule says that the government will provide up to 90% of the tuition fees to the students so they can go through their university or their school education. Where does the remaining 10% come from? Well, that comes from us. A school that is a Title IV school that is receiving up to 90% of their tuition from the government with no recourse is typically very profitable. If you think about it, you own a school, you've got buildings, you've got land, you've got all of these fixed fees types of things, you've got desks and chairs and everything out there. The cost of adding one more student into your classroom is pretty much zero. So you fill your classroom up. You add another student, pretty much that's very profitable for you. So you maximize your student enrollment. How do you do that? By getting 90% of the tuition paid for by the government, right? Obviously it's not all grants and that the students have to pay it back at some point in time, but you're getting that money in, you're profitable. The remaining 10% has to come from us. Well, it has to come from an outside source. It doesn't necessarily have to be us, but in our program it comes from us. If the school were to default on that 10% that we provided them, they would lose their 90% financing from the government. What school in their right mind would default on 10% to lose 90% from the government? It hasn't happened. It won't happen. The only opportunity or even event that could occur that would make that happen is if the school lost its Title IV status. Well, we can see the signs on that happening, and all of our schools have maintained their Title IV status for years and years and years now, I mean, if you're a school administrator, the last thing you ever want to do is lose your Title IV status. And if you are on the brink of doing that, you will get letters from the government saying address these types of issues. And believe you me, the schools will run around and make sure those issues are addressed. So through our highly critical underwriting criteria, we vet out all of the poor schools, the schools that aren't Title IV, and we end up with a core group of 20, 30, 40 schools with which we deal that are highly profitable, that have audited financial statements, and that receive the majority of their financing from the government. These are schools that have always stuck by their full recourse provisions, have always paid out if a student becomes a slow payer, and provides me the opportunity to be able to sit here and explain to you in detail why I can safely say your investment in Educate America is safe.